15 mistakes you should avoid when you start making money. Financial decision making is a skill you get better at over time. So don't be surprised if you make some sort of your biggest money mistakes in your teens and 20s. Being good at managing your money truly is an art that anyone can master, even the faintest of heart. It all comes down to getting into good money saving habits that, over time, will hopefully turn into a nice stash of savings in your bank account. But to get there, you need to know what the most common money mistakes are and how to avoid them so you don't end up falling at the first hurdle. Here are the most common financial mistakes and how to fix them. Not having a monthly budget. Not keeping to a budget is a very common money mistake. It's often little luxuries that we don't notice that burn holes in our pockets. These could be an expensive gym membership, spending lots on nights out, or unnecessary cab rides. These purchases can be okay every so often, but when they start to become a habit and don't fit into your monthly budget, that's when there's an issue. Knowing when and how to stop spending money can be tricky at first, but following a budget of your monthly outgoings will help you keep track of your spending and find out which habits you need to break. Not earning money in your free time. Finding a way of making money in your free time is super important, and not just for your bank account. Having a bit of extra income is a way of propelling yourself towards your long-term financial goals. It's also a way to ensure that when you do treat yourself, you have the extra cash to do so. And don't make the mistake of thinking that making money on the side is only good for your bank account. Having a side hustle is a great way to enhance your career prospects and is sure to impress a potential employer. Whether it's pet sitting, setting up your own business, selling photos online, or other passive income ideas, every little helps. Running up a credit card bill you can't pay off. Using your credit card as free money, rather than only spending what you have, is a one-way ticket to financial ruin. Treat your credit card, if you've got one, the same way you would your debit card, thinking of getting that new iPhone. Instead of putting it straight on your credit card under the assumption that you'll be able to pay for it later, only put it on if you're sure you've got enough money in your student bank account to pay for it right now. The same can be said for overspending on buy now, pay later services like Klarna. Only buy what you can actually afford. Being able to pay off your credit card or any other credit every month is vital. Any missed payments will be recorded on your credit card score and could make it difficult to do things like get a mortgage or take out a loan later on. Using your credit card to withdraw money from an ATM. Never use an ATM to withdraw cash on your credit card, if and when you do get one. Cash withdrawals on credit cards are recorded on your credit score and can look like irresponsible spending. If further down the line when you apply for a mortgage, a bank sees that you've been using your credit card to withdraw cash, they might be concerned about your money management. It could look like you're having to resort to your credit card to pay for basic living essentials. As much, it may lead them to think you're not financially stable enough to take on a loan. Not negotiating a salary when starting a job. Another money mistake is not negotiating your salary before starting a new job. Negotiating your salary is essential for two reasons. Firstly, you want to make sure you have enough money to cover the basics like food and rent from the get-go. Secondly, negotiating your salary sets the tone of your relationship with your employer. If you go in with a really low figure, you're undervaluing your work and encouraging your employer to do the same. How to negotiate your salary. Always expect an employer to turn down your first bid. This isn't always the case, but doing this is a precaution to prepare you for the worst. Go in with a number that is higher than what you'd expect, so you have room to negotiate down and arrive at the actual figure you would accept. So for example, if you're aiming at £22,000, you could go in at £25,000. Also, anytime you do get a pay raise, put the difference between your old salary and your new salary away safely. You're used to living on less, so the extra money you've recently been granted on top can be squirreled away into your savings account. Lending money to friends when you can't afford it. One of the common financial pitfalls to absolutely avoid comes from having a heart of gold. It's also one of the most common money mistakes you'll make in your 20s. But you live and you learn. Lending money to friends, especially when you're already having to live modestly, is a real no-go. It creates weird friendship dynamics whereby you're constantly tallying up their spending and thinking, that money could have been used to pay me back every time they buy a pen. It will also inevitably lead to that awkward conversation where you have to ask for your money back. Best bet, if you're struggling to make ends meet in the first place, keep your purse strings to yourself. Not having an emergency fund. An emergency fund is an absolute must. If you don't have one, you may find yourself resorting to short-term solutions you'll regret in a few years' time. Ideally, this fund should be enough to tide you over if your student loan is late, or if your phone suddenly breaks and you need to buy a replacement. Having some money set aside for a rainy day can also be really useful if, once you've left university, you find yourself unemployed and without an income for a few months. There are loads of ways to make money if you're between jobs, but it doesn't hurt to have some cash set aside to help you through a rough patch. Topping up your savings account a little bit each month, even with just a few quid, or putting a penny away in a jar each day, is a great way to get started without leaving you with little or no money to spend for the rest of the month. Having unrealistic financial goals. It's hard to know exactly where you'll be in 10 years' time, but it is worth considering what some of your long-term goals are. Do you want to buy a house? Do you want to set up a business? Do you want to travel the world? These are all dreamy ideas, but they all have one thing in common. They require financial planning. Giving yourself some financial goals to work towards can be great motivation for kickstarting your career. Sit down and write out a list of things you want to accomplish. Work out a realistic timeline of when you'd like these things to happen, and how much you'd need to save each week or month to get there. Keep the money for these goals separate from your emergency fund if you can, and avoid dipping into it unless you really have to. Forgetting to cancel subscriptions you don't use. When you sit down to review your budget, armed with your new personal finance skills, check if you're still paying for any subscriptions for services, streaming sites for example, that you're no longer using. Free trials are a great way to save money, but we've all been guilty of forgetting to unsubscribe to a service before the trial ends. Amazon can be good when it comes to refunding unused Amazon Prime memberships you may have forgotten to unsubscribe from. That said, you'll have to contact them within a month of the first payment being withdrawn from your account and not have used it to purchase anything. Not taking out insurance. If coronavirus has taught us anything, it's this: always take out insurance on holidays. Always. In fact, taking out insurance on all big purchases is a no-brainer. Whether it's mobile phone insurance, a holiday, your car, or student contents insurance. How many times have you almost dropped your iPhone screen first onto a rock-hard floor and dreaded picking it up to assess the damage? Paying just a little bit every month could save you from being financially shipwrecked in the future. Some insurance purchases come with serious perks too, like 1 year of 2-for-1 cinema tickets for just $1. Staying loyal to expensive banks and energy providers. Staying loyal to banks and energy providers should be a thing of the past. Never assume that just because you're a long-time customer, you'll be getting the best deal on offer. More often than not, the exact opposite will be the case. Banks and other utility providers know that people assume that switching means hassle, so they rely on human laziness to keep your business and your money by not offering you a better deal once you've settled. But most of the switching process is automated now, especially when it comes to switching bank accounts. Some bank accounts offer great cash rewards and interest rates on savings for new customers. It's definitely worth shopping around if you think you could get a better deal.